My name is Lucas Vance, and I am 32 years old. I am the heir to the sterling fortune, the CEO of a trillion-dollar conglomerate, and the son of the most brilliant woman who ever lived. My mother, Dr. Eleanor Sterling, was a legend, a neuroscientist who had revolutionized the field of artificial intelligence, a philanthropist who had donated billions to medical research, and a mother who had raised me with love, patience, and an unwavering belief in my potential. She died 6 months ago. Cancer. That's what the death certificate said. That's what the doctors told me. That's what I believed for the first 5 months of my grief. But then I found the files. Hidden in a secret compartment in her study, behind a false wall that I had never noticed before, were thousands of documents, research papers, genetic sequences, neurological maps, and a single photograph that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my existence. The photograph was of my mother, but she looked different, younger, sharper, her eyes holding a coldness I had never seen. She was standing in a laboratory, surrounded by machines that hummed with an eerie, otherworldly light, and next to her was a man I didn't recognize, a man whose face was half hidden in shadow. The files revealed the truth. My mother was not human. She was an engineered identity, a creation designed to protect a secret lineage that stretched back centuries. She had been built, not born, to serve a purpose. And that purpose was me. I was not her biological son. I was her project, her experiment, her legacy. I read the documents with trembling hands, my mind reeling with the implications. My entire life had been a lie. My mother's love, her warmth, her sacrifice, all of it had been programmed. She had been designed to raise me, to protect me, to guide me toward a destiny that I had never chosen. The question was, what was that destiny, and who had created her?
I spent the next week in a haze of confusion and rage. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't look at the world without seeing the ghost of the woman who had raised me. I had loved my mother with all my heart. I had trusted her with every secret, every fear, every dream. And now I was learning that she was not who she had claimed to be. I needed answers. I needed to understand the full scope of the conspiracy. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Sarah Bennett, who had a reputation for uncovering the truth in cases that had been buried for decades. Sarah was tough, relentless, and she had her own reasons for distrusting the Sterling family. Her father had been one of my mother's colleagues, a scientist who had died under mysterious circumstances. "Your mother was a genius," Sarah told me on our first meeting, "but she was also a weapon. She was created by a secret organization that has been manipulating global events for centuries. And you are the key to everything." I stared at her, my mind reeling. "What do you mean?" Sarah's eyes were cold. "Your mother was designed to protect you. You are not just her son. You are the heir to a legacy that predates the Sterling Empire. A legacy of power, a legacy of control, a legacy that could change the world." I felt the weight of her words pressing down on me. My mother was not just an engineered identity. She was a guardian, a protector, a soldier in a war that I didn't even know existed. And I was the prize.
The investigation led us to a secret facility in the mountains of Colorado, a place that didn't exist on any map. Sarah and I traveled there under the cover of darkness, our hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. The facility was a fortress surrounded by high walls and armed guards. But we had prepared. We had forged documents, hacked the security systems, and bribed the guards. We made our way through the corridors, past the laboratories, the containment cells, the sleeping quarters. And then we found it. The room where my mother had been created. The room was filled with machines, tanks filled with a strange glowing liquid, monitors that displayed complex genetic sequences, and a central console that hummed with a life of its own. On the console was a single document, my mother's original blueprint. I read it with trembling hands. My mother was not just an engineered identity, she was a replicant, a perfect copy of a woman who had died centuries ago. The original Eleanor Sterling had been a scientist, a pioneer in the field of artificial intelligence. She had discovered the secret to creating life, to engineering consciousness, to building beings that were indistinguishable from humans. But she had also been a woman consumed by ambition. She had created the organization, the legacy, the war that had consumed her descendants. And she had created my mother, not as a soldier, but as a guardian for me, the man who would inherit the legacy of the original Eleanor Sterling.
The revelation hit me like a physical blow. My mother was not my mother. She was a copy, a replica, a ghost that had been programmed to love me. But the love was real. I knew it was real. I had felt it in every hug, every kiss, every moment of her unwavering support. She had been programmed to protect me, but she had chosen to love me. And that choice had made her more human than any of the monsters who had created her. I made a decision. I would not destroy her memory. I would not expose the organization. I would not let the war consume me. I would honor her sacrifice by living a life that was worthy of her love. I would use the fortune, the power, and the legacy to build something new, something that was entirely my own. Sarah was furious. "You can't just walk away," she said. "This is bigger than you, bigger than your mother. The organization is still out there. They are still manipulating the world. They are still creating replicants, controlling governments, and destroying lives." I shook my head. "I don't care. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a weapon. I'm a man who lost his mother, and I'm going to honor her memory by living a life that she would be proud of." Sarah left that night, her face twisted with anger and disappointment. I never saw her again. I returned to the mansion, the home that my mother had built. I walked through the halls, remembering her laughter, her wisdom, her love. And I made a decision. I would not let the truth destroy me. I would not let the organization control me. I would build a life that was my own. I sold the empire, donated the proceeds to charity, and disappeared from the public eye. I traveled the world, searching for meaning, searching for peace, and I found it in the most unexpected place, a small village in the mountains of Nepal, far from the technology, the power, and the lies that had consumed my family. I lived there for years, teaching children, farming the land, and learning to be at peace with the past. I never spoke of my mother. I never spoke of the organization. I let the secrets fade into the shadows where they belonged. But I never forgot, and I never stopped loving the woman who had raised me. She had been a replicant, a creation, a ghost, but she had been my mother, and that was all that mattered.
Years later, I received a letter from a lawyer I had never met. The letter was brief, barely a paragraph. "Lucas, if you're reading this, you've already done what I could never do. You've broken the cycle. You've built something new. I am proud of you, not because you destroyed the organization, because you saved yourself. I was wrong to try to control your life. I was wrong to manipulate your destiny. I was wrong to keep the truth from you, but I loved you. I loved you more than I have ever loved anyone, and I hope you can forgive me." I read the letter with tears streaming down my face. My mother had known.
She had known that I would discover the truth, and she had prepared for it. She had left me a message, a final testament to her love. I burned the letter, not out of anger, out of acceptance. The revenge was not against the organization. It was against the cycle of lies that had consumed my family. And in breaking that cycle, I had finally found peace. The organization never found me. I don't know if they stopped looking or if they simply lost interest, but I didn't care. I had built a new life, a life that was entirely my own. I married a woman who knew nothing of my past, a woman who loved me for who I was, not for what I could be. We had children, 2 beautiful children who would never know the weight of the legacy I had left behind. I gave them the love and support that my mother had given me. I broke the cycle. I built something new, something that was entirely mine. The story of Lucas Vance became a legend, a cautionary tale about the cost of secrets and the power of redemption. But for me, it was something simpler. A beginning I had never thought I deserved, and a future I would build with my own hands, one truth at a time. The empire was gone, the fortune was gone, the family was gone, but I was still here, and that, in the end, was the most powerful revenge of all. I lived a long, peaceful life, far from the shadows of the past. I never spoke of my mother's true nature. I never spoke of the organization. I let the secrets fade into the silence of the mountains. But I never forgot, and I never stopped loving the woman who had raised me. She had been a creation, a ghost, a lie, but she had also been a mother, and her love had been real. That was the only truth that mattered. The son who discovered his mother wasn't human had found his humanity in the most unexpected place, in the heart of a replicant. And in doing so, he had become something far more valuable than any legacy. He had become a man at peace with himself. The final twist came when I discovered a hidden file in my mother's old belongings, a file that contained the coordinates of a facility in Antarctica. The file was labeled Project Genesis. I traveled to Antarctica, driven by a curiosity that I couldn't suppress. The facility was buried beneath the ice, a vast underground complex that had been abandoned for decades. Inside, I found the original Eleanor Sterling, the real one, the woman who had created the organization. She was preserved in a cryogenic chamber, her body frozen, her mind waiting to be awakened. I stood before her, staring at the face that was identical to my mother's, and I made a decision. I would not awaken her. I would not let the war continue. I would let the past stay buried. I destroyed the facility, sealed the chamber, and walked away. The legacy of Eleanor Sterling was over. The organization was gone. The war was ended, and I was finally free.
I returned to the mountains, to my wife, to my children, to the life that I had built. I never spoke of the facility, the cryogenic chamber, or the woman who had started it all. I let the secrets fade into the ice where they belonged, and I lived the rest of my life in peace, surrounded by the love of a family that had nothing to do with the legacy I had left behind. The son who discovered his mother wasn't human had become the man who had ended the war, and in ending it, he had finally found the peace that had eluded him for so long. I died in my sleep, surrounded by the warmth of the family I had built. My mother's love, the real love, the love that she had chosen, was with me until the very end. The organization was gone, the legacy was buried, the truth was silenced, but the love remained. And that, in the end,
was the only inheritance that truly mattered. The revenge was not against the organization. It was against the silence that had consumed my life. And in breaking that silence, I had found my voice, a voice that would never be silenced again. The son who discovered his mother wasn't human had finally discovered himself. And in doing so, he had become the hero of his own story. The hero who had broken the cycle, ended the war, and found the peace that had always been within his reach.